You ever notice how some people can make a decision in 5 minutes and other people need to emotionally prepare for it like they're about to disappoint the entire world? That used to be me. Not because I didn't know what I wanted, but because somewhere along the way, I learned that being accepted was safer than being honest. Welcome to Journal the Year. This is episode 7. Stop asking for permission to become yourself. I think a lot of us don't realize how deeply validation controls our lives. Some people think validation is just wanting compliments or attention, but no. For a lot of us, approval became emotional survival. We learned early that being good kept the peace, being agreeable kept people around, being easy to manage made us lovable. So we become experts at reading rooms, experts at shrinking ourselves, experts at checking everybody else's reactions before checking in with ourselves. And the scary part is, after years of doing that, you stop knowing what you actually want. Because every decision becomes, will they approve? Will they understand? Will this upset somebody? Will they still love me if I change? I honestly believe a lot of this starts in childhood. Some of us were praised only when we performed well, only when we stayed quiet, only when we sacrificed ourselves for others. So now, as adults, we feel guilty for choosing ourselves, guilty for resting, guilty for saying no, guilty for evolving. And sometimes people don't even realize they trained you to abandon yourself. You become the strong one, the fixer, the understanding one, the dependable one. But nobody ever asked if constantly carrying everybody else was crushing you. And eventually, you hit a breaking point where your soul starts whispering, what about me? One thing I had learned the hard way: acceptance is not the same thing as love. Some people only accept the version of you that benefits them, the quiet version, the convenient version, the version that never changes. But real love allows evolution. Real love doesn't punish growth. And let me say this because somebody listening needs to hear it. You're not selfish for becoming who God created you to be. Some people will call your boundaries attitude because they benefited from your lack of them. I used to over explain everything. I would explain my boundaries, explain my decisions, explain my healing, explain why I needed space. And honestly, that came from fear: fear of being misunderstood, fear of disappointing people, fear of looking like the bad person. But healing taught me something powerful. Not everybody deserves an explanation. Sometimes your peace will confuse people who benefited from your chaos. And if you constantly need permission to become yourself, you will stay emotionally trapped in versions of yourself you already outgrew. So this week, I want us to practice something different. Step 1: Stop over explaining your decisions. A complete sentence is I've decided what's best for me. Step 2, say no without attaching guilt to it. You don't need to apologize for protecting your peace. Step 3, make one decision this week without consulting everybody. Trust yourself enough to hear your own voice. Step 4, practice silence after boundaries. Stop rushing to fix people's reactions for your growth. I think one of the hardest parts of healing is realizing how many versions of yourself were created just to survive. And maybe that version protected you once, but you don't have to live there forever. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to outgrow spaces. You are allowed to disappoint people if it means finally being honest with yourself. Healing is realizing you don't need a committee meeting to choose yourself. So tonight, I want you to sit with this question. What would I do differently if I wasn't afraid of being misunderstood? Would you leave? Would you start over? Would you speak up? Would you finally rest? Would you finally choose yourself? This is Journal to Ear, a place where healing gets a voice. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who's learning how to stop abandoning themselves for acceptance. And remember, the moment you stop asking permission to become yourself is the moment your real life begins. And before we close the book on today, I want to hear from you. What part of your story are you mending right now? Head over to the Q&A in your Spotify app, or you can send a voice note at my email, journaltoearpod@gmail.com. Your voice is the gold that makes this community whole. I'm listening.